In the fights, a lot of people think Maidana doesn't even think. He just goes out swinging wild. But now Maidana thinks a fighter like Maidana is going to give trouble to the best boxer in the world.
Welcome back to another film study that nobody asked for, but I've decided to do anyway. This time we're taking a look at Marcos El Chino Maidana, one of my absolute favorite fighters to watch when he burst on the scene from virtually nowhere. He's a very misunderstood fighter whose skills and ring intelligence grew exponentially when he moved up to welterweight. This video will be focusing on those skills he was forced to develop and use due to his incredible power not transitioning to the higher weight. So I hope you enjoy the video and learn something in the process. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Marcos Maidana's probing jab. Like many other successful pressure fighters, Maidana uses his jab and probing jab to test his opponents. Having the luxury of being known as a powerful puncher, Maidana can throw these probing jabs while safely coming forward to see how his opponents react to it and then formulate a counter for that reaction.
Under a minute remaining in the opening frame. Thus far it's been the tale of two jabs with a couple of nice right hands.
Notice how when Maidana throws a probing jab at Lopez, Lopez tries to counter him with his own jab, which is an excellent counter to the jab when you have the same-handed fighters, orthodox or southpaw versus southpaw. So Maidana wants to get Lopez to do that reaction again, so you see him probing from a safe distance. He's probing it with his lead hand, throwing these probing jabs, and here Maidana gets Lopez to jab with him this time, and then Maidana's going to counter him with the overhand right. Counters that jab beautifully. You see, after noticing Lopez try to counter his probing jab with his own jab, Maidana smartly picks up on this and baits Lopez into throwing another ill-advised jab to counter a probe. Maidana's forward pressure while probing raises the pressure onto Lopez to get Maidana off of him, and Lopez has just shown that he'll do that with the jab, which Maidana picks up on. So Maidana, all he has to do is counter the jab counter from Lopez. And you see that once he gets the response he wants, Maidana slips the jab to the inside so that he could counter over the top with the straight right hand. It's brilliant boxing.
Under a minute remaining in the opening frame. Thus far it's been the tale of two jabs with a couple of nice right hands.
The 2 years that I've been with him, just the little changes, him using his jab a little more, moving his head a little more, him using his jab a little more, moving his head a little more, him using his jab a little more, moving his head a little more.
Ever since training under Robert Garcia, Maidana has developed the use of the jab in numerous ways. To say that he uses the jab as a setup for his other punches is only part of the equation. Maidana's intelligent combination of probing jabs, real jabs, and level changing makes him a much craftier pressure fighter than he was before. Watch here how simply the threat of Maidana's probing jab manipulates Floyd Mayweather to move all the way to the ropes. Here's Maidana's first exchange with Floyd Mayweather. Notice here how he initiates with a safe probing jab, but also inches his lead foot closer to Floyd behind the probe. This probe masks the fact that Maidana is moving into punching range much more defensively responsible than simply waltzing into range. This is also a very subtle way that Maidana establishes his pressure. By stepping his lead foot closer, most fighters would react by stepping back in respect to Maidana's punching power. And here we see Maidana probe again and change head slots to remain defensively responsible. And look at Floyd's reaction. He noticed Floyd back straight up in reaction to his probe. And this is because Floyd knows that Maidana will find an opening for his right hand if you stay there. So here you see Maidana tests him again with a probing jab. And once again Floyd takes a step back. And now Maidana will find an opening with the data he's gathered. Now aggressively, Maidana changes levels and feints the probing jab to the body, forcing Floyd to back up to the ropes. Maidana has done this without committing to a punch for Floyd to counter. And Floyd, knowing that Maidana is using this to set up a right hand, bends down at the waist to avoid the punch. Maidana wanted Floyd to bend down because this leaves Floyd in a vulnerable situation where he has to come back up before he can do anything else. So instead of throwing the right hand and missing, Maidana feints the right hand, which prompts Floyd to bend down at the waist. And now, with no option but to come back up, Floyd is met with a right hand that was pinpointed first by Maidana's left hand. See here against Adrian Broner, Maidana used level changes with a jab to the body to gain data on how to score this knockdown. Notice how Broner doesn't step back the way Floyd Mayweather did, which means he's there to be hit. You can't see from this angle, but Broner actually reaches down to parry Maidana's jab, which leaves his head wide open, and since he's not stepping back, that means that he's risking the chance of getting hit because he's simply just standing there. And of course Maidana is going to pick this up. Having found the opening to Broner's head, Maidana shows Broner the jab to the body again, but this time switches it to a left hook to the head, midway through the punch. And once again, Broner reaches down to parry a jab to the body that simply wasn't coming. Broner barely manages to avoid the left hook to the head, but he's shown that he hasn't made the adjustment yet, so Maidana's going to go for the setup again. So there you see him change levels and look like he's going to throw to a jab to the body, and look at Broner's reaction. Broner drops his right hand to parry a jab that was never coming. As a matter of fact, he drops both of his hands, which should result in him losing his boxing license. But you notice, why does he do that? It's because it looks like this left hook looks like a jab to the body. See, Maidana does the same setup. He changes levels, looks like he's going to throw the jab to the body, and then the left hook comes at the very last second, landing flush on Adrian Broner's cheek and sending him down to the canvas.
Something about that left hook, it almost looked like a jab to the body at first. Now we know why Maidana was throwing so many jabs to the body earlier.
Most boxing commentators on TV will only look at a knockdown or knockout as just the punch that caused it. However, we rarely, if ever, hear them talk about how the punch was set up. Most knockout punches are set up by conditioning an opponent earlier in the round or even in earlier rounds. Maidana picked up on Broner's habit of reaching down to parry the jab to the body, conditioned Broner to feel safe doing that, and then suddenly switch it up to score the knockdown. And that's what I call getting conditioned with no shampoo.
Dóblate, para que piense como que viene aquí. Hágalo así, de repente, viene el de arriba, ¿ok? Dóblate, para que piense como que viene aquí. Hágalo así, de repente, viene el de arriba, ¿ok?
Lopez has been through some tumultuous times in his life as well, as we have documented here on Showtime. His father wasn't. Lopez has been through some tumultuous times in his life as well, as we have documented here on Showtime. His father wasn't.
Maidana is going to shoot a jab to the body of Lopez and then pressure him forward. So we're going to see Maidana change levels, get low, and make Lopez think that he's shooting to the body again. So you see him feint the left hand and the right hand to set Lopez on the ropes. Let's watch it again. So jab to the body, he's going to feint the left hand and the right hand as he changes levels to set Lopez onto the ropes. And when Lopez ducks down with his hands low, Maidana lands the right hand up top. Just like he did against Mayweather, Maidana pressured Lopez to the ropes with a level change and a series of feints to the body. Lopez understands Maidana is looking for a right hand and ducks down when he sees the right hand. However, this was only a right hand feint from Maidana that gets Lopez into the vulnerable bent down position where he can meet him with a real right hand as Lopez comes back up.
Basic fundamental. As we take a look at our social media from Sammy J.
Dóblate, para que piense como que viene aquí. Hágalo así, de repente, viene el de arriba, ¿ok?
Basic fundamental. As we take a look at our social media from Sammy J.
Knew this one would rank with them in terms of
On the right hand, drops Lopez.
Dóblate, para que piense como que viene aquí. Hágalo así, de repente, viene el de arriba, ¿ok?
So next I want to highlight a genius adjustment Maidana made going into his rematch with Floyd Mayweather. Watch here in these clips from their first fight how Maidana was able to get Floyd onto the ropes and look good windmilling power shots while he was there. However, even though this won him rounds and made him look good, he still struggled to land many clean, effective shots on Floyd in these moments. And Floyd is a defensive genius, is very good at predicting which punch logically comes next. You see this in a lot of Floyd's fights. His opponents finally get him trapped on the ropes, but struggle to land clean punches. So let's take a look at what Maidana does in the rematch.
Maidana as it relates to the jab, and look what that did. That got him on the inside.
Yep. He keeps himself in position and balance those feints. Yet it backs Floyd up.
So just like before, Maidana would get Mayweather onto the ropes by level changing and feinting down to the body. But watch here, as he gets Floyd onto the ropes, look, he switches southpaw here. And this is big because you notice Floyd is in his Philly shell defense, and the Philly shell defense is designed to defend against the same stance fighter shots. And this is what Floyd was doing before. Floyd was able to deflect all of Maidana's shots on the ropes in the first fight because he was using the Philly shell. And you notice here, as soon as Maidana switches southpaw, he's able to land that right hand up the middle because the Philly shell isn't designed to defend against that. So you see Floyd switches over to the high guard, and now Maidana is able to really hammer away at him. So this is a genius adjustment, switching southpaw right on the dime as soon as he has Mayweather on the ropes, tricking him. And last but definitely not least, I want to talk about Maidana's much improved defense. I mentioned before how Maidana developed the ability to apply pressure in a much more defensively responsible fashion than before due to him inching his lead foot forward behind a probing jab. This allows him to move forward without leading in with his whole body. And with only his lead foot moving forward, he has the ability to pull back in case his opponent retaliates. See how Maidana is able to pressure forward against Floyd Mayweather, push him to the ropes, and as soon as Floyd retaliates, Maidana is able to pull back because he was only moving forward with his lead foot first. Notice there how he uses the shoulder roll, and you know a lot of people don't want to believe me when I say Maidana uses the shoulder roll. He just used it right there. As you see with his hand down, he knows how to use the shoulder roll because he switches over to a Philly shell momentarily. And look at the defense. He's able to pull back away from Floyd's retaliation due to him carefully pressuring forward with his lead foot. Here you see him throw a jab against Floyd and is able to avoid the counter right hand by ducking under it, remains defensively responsible. And again, he shoots a right hand here, and even though it misses, he has the defensive responsibility to duck under the counter left hook. Pressures forward against Floyd and is able to avoid the shots because he's carefully pressuring forward all the way to the ropes. Here against Lopez, you see him pressure forward and again use the shoulder roll when Lopez tries to counterattack. There you see him block the jab to the body, and he doesn't drop his hands doing so, and again uses the shoulder roll. See, you've seen him do the shoulder roll a number of times. And there you see him throw the jab to bait out the jab from Lopez and then counter with a right hand. You see all these moments, he's able to control the positioning because he's pressuring forward, but still has the presence of mind to remain defensively responsible. As always, if you like my content and want to see more, please click the red button to subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you all for watching.